What is the most OP build for Petra in Fire Emblem 3 Hopes? As per request, Petra is finally done. What she lacks in her speech, she makes up for on the battlefield. Petra is one of the stronger characters in this game, and if built right, she could be completely broken. The background combat in the video was taken on maddening difficulty. There was 3 classes I thought would be strong for Petra: Trickster, Mortal Savant, and Falcon Knight. I'll explain my reasoning as we go, but ultimately Petra requires a lot of crit to really get going, so Mortal Savant is the clear winner. Again, with that being said, if you're willing to sacrifice the crit, you could use any of the sword classes and this build will still work. For Petra's weapon, we're looking for a sword with boost awakening and speed factor. Petra doesn't have very high strength, so as a result her damage could be fairly limited, but using speed factor gives her that extra oomph she needs to get in some really good damage. Boost awakening is also required since this build is extremely fast at getting your awakening gauge. For those of you willing to spare the Dark Creator Sword, you could use this instead. It is stronger, but we only have one of them, so pick your character carefully. As for our accessory, we're going to use a lightning speed ring. I know I just said she lacks strength, but trust me, there's a good reason for this. Another option would be to use a crit ring, but I do feel like the speed ring is better suited for this particular build. The battalion of choice is Resist Gauntlet, since for me, these enemies are the most annoying. As for our combat arts, we're running Haze Slice and Astra. At times it's hard to tell them apart, but what you need to know is they hit often. This allows us to proc our crit as much as possible. Petra has 3 unique abilities. Windstorm greatly increases our evasion distance, while dodging we inflict wind damage to enemies. This ability isn't very strong, but it does allow for easier maneuverability. Hunter's Boon greatly restores the awakening gauge with each critical hit. Keep this in mind as we go, since this ability is one of the biggest reasons Mortal Savant is the best class for her. Outland Technique increases damage dealt by 50% when ordered to attack. For our class abilities, we have Swordfare, which boosts the crit hit rate when equipped with a sword, and Axe Buster, which increases damage done against axes by 95%. Petra's abilities are very good. She has a lot going on that assists her with Hunter's Boon. As per usual, learned abilities will be covered at the end of the video. Sword Prowess level 3 gives us a 30% boost while wielding a sword. Speed plus 10 increases our speed by, well, 10. This is the first time I used a stat booster, but trust me when I say it's important. Mercenary's Wisdom increases damage dealt by Mortal Savant class actions in proportion to speed. This is the second reason we had to use Mortal Savant. The class abilities for this class are quite strong, and this ability increases them to an entirely new level of damage. In fact, the damage of your class actions is going to rival even that of your combat arts. Boost Critical increases crit hit rate, while Apex Sword increases crit hit damage. This allows us to increase our awakening gauge speed due to Hunter's Boon. Now we have Speed Catalyst. This is another reason why we're pumping so much into our speed. We get a bonus on our attacks from our sword, we get a damage bonus from the Mercenary's Wisdom on our class actions, and now we increase the fill rate of our warrior gauge based all on that one thing: speed. Our base speed is capped at 122. Pretty reasonable, but with both the plus 10 boosts, this gives us an insane speed of 142. For those wondering, yes, your speed can go above your stat cap when using boosts like this. We're also running cyclical specials, which boost the fill gauge of warrior specials after initiating a warrior special. And cyclical awakening does this exact same thing, but for the awakening gauge. When defeating multiple enemies with a single warrior special, Panache increases our awakening gauge even more, based on the number of enemies defeated. Finally, we have Spirited Seas, which gives us some more warrior gauge upon seizing a stronghold. Now let's talk stats. The most important stats for this build is strength, dex, and speed. Strength is what most of our damage is calculated from. Dex increases our damage on crit rushes and gives us a higher crit chance, while speed lowers the cooldown on our combat arts and spells, plus increases the duration of our awakening activation. I tested all the growth rates and found that for you to get the highest number of these 3 stats, you're going to want to level Petra as 2 different classes. You want to level her roughly 40 times as a Wyvern Lord for the highest strength growth rate that she has access to. This also boosts your speed a decent amount. After those 40 levels, you're going to want to level her the other 80 times as a trickster. Doing this will give you a big boost to her dex and speed, but lower your strength gains by quite a bit. This will get you very close to capped speed and dex while still giving you an above average strength. If Petra is one of your favorite characters and you want to use her no matter what, then I recommend boosting her speed and dex to max with stat items. Of course, if they don't hit there on their own. And try to get her strength above 100. Petra has some very strong potential, but it's going to take a little bit more effort to get her there. The idea behind this build is you want to use your combat arts and class action to proc as many crit activations as you can. Doing this will fill your awakening gauge very fast, and since our damage increases significantly during this form, you want to keep it up as often as possible. Make sure you use all of your warrior specials before activating your awakening gauge, because during all the critical rushes, you're going to be gaining almost an entire full bar of warrior gauge. As for where I learned each ability, we get sword prowess from Myrmidon, thief, and mercenary, speed plus 10 from mortal savant, alongside our haze slice ability, mercenary's wisdom from mercenary, boost critical and apex sword come from assassin, speed catalyst is gained via falcon knight, cyclical specials and panache is from Dark Knight, cyclical awakening from Holy Knight, spirited seas from Fighter, and Astra from Swordmaster. Let me know what characters you want me to build next, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.